glad we kind of got that breakdown there. I want to get into something I know we're both passionate about, and it's always fun to have somebody on the podcast that's just as much of a Tesla bull as I am. So this past week
Nice.
we had Battery Day, which was definitely hyped up, maybe a little bit too hyped up due to a lot of the retail investors and people watching from the outside on what they were expecting.
Definitely.
If we're just kind of looking at a few of the numbers that they put out, and it sounds like you prepped a little bit of a conversation as well, but ultimately they're talking about a potential 56% drop in battery cell price. They're looking at bringing online a $25,000, I think it was, fully autonomous car, I think in 3 years or something like that. And
Hmm.
then they just talked about some other of the structural stuff, how the battery is going to be part of the structure, basically two molds making one car. And I think the thing that drove people away, at least the people that aren't maybe as intuitive and doing their research like we potentially do, is that this isn't happening tomorrow, and it's also not anything that to the outsider looks extremely groundbreaking. They're not announcing a VTOL plane. They're not announcing a hyperloop or anything like that. So
Hmm.
what was your takeaways from Battery Day? Obviously we saw your Tesla position. How does this affect potentially your strategy going forward with them, and then kind of what do you see developing over the next 5-10 years?
Of course. So I also have some Tesla on another account. So my total amount right now is about 52 shares of Tesla. Uh, we did start this other 7 shares, and we're down on them right now, but we're happy because we're building that new position up in Tesla. But overall, Tesla Battery Day, I was so stoked about it. I watched pretty much all of the entire presentation with a couple of homies, and it was very very exciting. And one thing that's really important to note is that Tesla's not trying to sell us anything. If they were trying to sell us something, guys, they would be acting as if this stuff is here right now, right? But they're openly saying, "Hey, we got the plan. It's going to take this much time, and we're working on it. And yeah, there are some hurdles, but we're jumping over every hurdle as we get to it. You know what I mean?" And so they're showing transparency, which I think is extremely just valuable for a business like this, and especially for Tesla. Overall, they, like you said, they announced they're going to be reducing the cost and and changing the battery technology overall so that their vehicles can be more profitable. That is the overall goal. And I think another one of the cool announcements is I think they announced they're opening a factory in where was it, Berlin or something like that. They announced they're opening two new gigafactories somewhere, and within those gigafactories, they have this project called Project Roadrunner, which is essentially how they're going to be creating the new batteries in house now inside the gigafactories. And so, creating batteries in the gigafactories all around the world is just going to upscale the profitability and get more vehicles onto the road. And as you guys know, or may not know, the more vehicles Tesla has on the road, the further their autonomous system becomes developed, because every car that's on the road is absorbing data. It's taking turns on different roads all around the world. Collecting data and sending that back to the computer, and then that gets transferred to all of the other Teslas eventually. And so you can think of Tesla vehicle as like a walking smartphone almost. It's getting updates constantly. The car is changing without the shell actually, having any work done on it. It's all internal. So another important thing with Battery Day is just overall like the excitement. Really, there, like you said, there was too much excitement going into it. Investors and analysts, I like to call them analysts. They uh they really wanted Tesla or Musk to basically say, we got that million mile battery ready right now. And they actually, the all the stuff they promoted, it's gonna be the million-mile battery, but they didn't actually say those words, so a lot of people are kind of confused. And yeah, so I think a lot of institutions potentially push Tesla's stock price down right after Battery Day. Like institutions, by at that I mean big investors like multimillionaire investors or mutual firms. They push it down to a certain level, and then that can trigger retail investors to sell out of fear, panic, and stop losses even. So that pushed it down even further. And so I personally knew people that sold right after Battery Day, and it blew my mind. And I actually purchased more shares during the drops after Battery Day. And I'm hoping, personally, I am hoping that Tesla can get closer to $200 a share so that I can double my position size and get over 100 shares of Tesla. That would be ideal.
Yeah, I'm with you. I sold some. I bought some more shares as well, and it's one of those weird things where I actually want it to drop a little bit more. That way we can collect more shares. I think the other interesting thing you talked about them not selling anything. You know, Tesla doesn't run advertisements. They put their product out there, and it's really all word of mouth and user experience for how people kind of uh, get interested and actually want to go out and buy a Tesla. And I think shout out to Ryan Giffen. He has a YouTube channel. He talked about it on his video today. I don't remember the exact name of the effect that it's called. I want to say it's like the Osborne effect or something. But basically, the idea behind it is that Tesla could be a lot closer to these things than they alluded to. But if you're, telling people that this is right around the corner and it's going to be out in the next models, people might stop buying Teslas right now. It's like this weird
Yeah.
middle ground where you want people to be excited for the future, but it's like, with the new Mac or the new iPhone, you don't want people to not continue to buy your product because there's always a new one about to come out.
Think about Elon Musk saying, I when he tweeted out, I think Tesla stock price is overvalued. He's being real. Like, he's legitimately thinks that because he's like, he knows everyone else is just overhyping things, but Tesla deserves the hype. And one thing about Tesla is important for anyone investing in Tesla. This is like the most important thing I think people should know is that people are confused when they look at the stock price of Tesla. What you guys should actually be looking at is the market capitalization of the company and what the value of Tesla is. I think Tesla's market cap is around 500 billion or 400 billion right now, right? Somewhere
Sounds
around
right.
there. And so, I believe Tesla's going to be a trillion, if not multiple $1 trillion company one day. And the market cap is just simply what the value of the company is. So right now they're valued at about $500 billion almost. And so I definitely believe if you're buying a stock that's $500 billion in market cap and it's going to be over $1 trillion in market cap in the future, then obviously that's going to be a good investment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the other interesting thing is how they don't it's not like they don't want competition. They're not trying to shut people off. They actually want people to come on board and start the electric vehicle kind of movement. I mean, Elon said it himself during battery day. He was saying, we talked to these big ice vehicle makers about, you know you guys need to start doing this. Like, you can't be a few steps behind, because when it happens, it's going to happen fast. And he even said, he's like, they're not interested. You see other people. I think VW is putting something out. You see a lot of these other smaller companies like SPAC Fisker, I think it is, and
Mm-hmm.
Helion is, more of the 18 wheeler type stuff, but it's happening. And obviously the EV conversation right now is a whole nother one we could go on, because I think there's very few players outside of Tesla that have really shown what they can do.
Yeah.
So there might be a little bit of a bubble we're working with on that end, but they're not like trying to take all the market share for themselves. It's just that nobody else is taking the steps that they've taken.
Yeah, and I think a big reason for that is just simply all the ice maker vehicle companies like Ford, Toyota, all these mainstream ones. They've been very hesitant in their transition into electrical vehicles just because it's not as profitable for them. They make a lot more money off selling their ice vehicles than they do selling electric vehicles, and that's why Tesla, for the last like 3 years has been, not really. It's been so bet against because uh, it's like been the most bet against stock in history, I believe. And so that's due to, people like Elon Musk trying to do things that no one else has ever done or considered. They had to spend a lot of money and time and years to be able to get the batteries and technology to a point where it's like, okay, we can actually sell this for a profit now. And now we can actually work on cutting costs versus, if a, if Toyota had to transition into all electric vehicles, they're already in decline with their sales as things go right now and their business model. But if they were to just have to fully transition into electric vehicles, don't even mention like all the money and time they're gonna have to put into actually allowing that to happen. They would not be making as much money as they are now still. So it's very kind of scary if I was the owner of one of these other automotive companies, because Tesla's just coming in and changing the game. And another thing of Tesla is that Tesla's not even a car company. That's if you look at their like business or their whatever it is, like their summary of their company, they don't talk about how they're a car company. They're an energy company.
Yeah.
You know, they're focusing on changing energy and making renewable energy like vastly available to, you know, everyone, whether it's at your home, whether it's in your car, whether it's, you know, all the power that we use, you know what I mean? And Elon Musk has a really creative brain. I mean, he's going to Mars. He's trying to go to Mars. He's trying to, you know, do a lot of crazy things. So Tesla is like, it's well, oh my gosh, I was telling my friend this. It's I'm forgetting the word again. Oh man. Oh, it's an anomaly. Tesla's an anomaly, man. It's like a stock that's like a once in a lifetime type of a stock. So I treat it way more different than any one of my other positions. Tesla is like a house almost. When I buy shares of Tesla, it's like I just bought a house. It's like I bought some of the house and it's an asset and I am holding long term. Let my money grow.
Yeah, I'm with you. And obviously, in terms of production numbers, you know, Tesla's not producing the same amount of cars that these major ICE vehicle manufacturers are. They, you know, Ford, Toyota are putting out tens of millions of cars a year. I don't remember the exact numbers with Tesla. It's in the hundreds of thousands. I know that. But I also think because this is what they've been doing from the start, it kind of allows them to be more streamlined. I mean, you look at like a Toyota or a Ford, they have these massive factories, and obviously I'm sure there's some correlation in the way that they can change, and they could potentially change from ICE manufacturing to EV manufacturing, but the cost alone in doing that is going to be ridiculous, where Tesla from the ground up has been electric vehicles, and everything that they've built and developed has been that from the start. So their entire factories, and you know, they talk about how the machines to make the cars are more complex than the cars themselves, and it really seems like they're kind of nailing that down. So that, on top of what you talked about previously, them being on the roads for years prior, gathering all of this information,
Yeah.
all of this data, is just, you know, it's putting them way out ahead of the competition. Even if a manufacturer, you know, a higher level ICE manufacturer really took the time to step into it.
Yeah, and that goes also into the future of how is Tesla going to be way more profitable, and that's because they're going to diversify and expand the ways that they're profitable. Like they'll be making money off selling vehicles, they'll be making money off selling batteries, off selling solar panels. They'll be making money off of their autonomous taxi services, which I that's the thing is that like you just said, they're ahead of everyone as far as autonomy goes because their cars have been on the road for years and years, and there's more coming to the roads. Once we get to the fully, I think it's a level 5 autonomy. That's when taxis are able to drive people around, citizens around, like robots essentially. And so that's going to open up whole new levels for, I think, Tesla's share price and for the company because they're gonna be selling an insurance policy with Tesla vehicles that I guess has. I'm not super educated on this topic, but I know there's like think about it. If you have an autonomous car and you're having it drive people around when you're at work, right? Uh, there's definitely some issues with that, right? What if your car crashes and kills people? You're gonna have to have some insurance policy. So there's gonna be a whole new insurance policy created and founded, and there's gonna be political regulations and all sorts of stuff that goes into creating this. But it's gonna be something that changes the world. And Tesla is set to be the ones that does that, guaranteed. So yeah, that's another thing about Tesla. That's just if you're not bullish yet, if you're not in Tesla yet, $10 a week is a great way to start, homie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I don't know if this is what you were alluding to, but other conversations I've heard with Tesla analysis is basically them saying that, you know, Tesla's going to take the step to actually insure their own vehicles because nobody's going to know their cars better than they do. So you could essentially buy a Tesla and then pay Tesla insurance for that car, which is
Yeah, that's
super interesting.
that's around what I've heard. Yeah,
And
so
then
that'll be crazy.
another thing that they're going to be, you know, that they already have is you buy a Tesla, you buy a Model 3, and then they put out an update. Well, guess what? People in their homes can literally download updates for $3,000, $5,000, which is just crazy. You know, could you imagine
Yeah,
buying a Camry and then 6 months later actually getting like a email saying that there's a new update out? Like that never happens.
I actually saw that recently. It was like someone had like a $8,000 update on their Tesla, and it allowed them to do like autonomous lane changing. like around traffic and stuff. And I was like, he's like, should I buy it? I'm like, damn, dude. I'm definitely gonna wait to buy a Tesla still, unless we get the 25K one. I say you shouldn't buy a vehicle unless you could buy two of it.
I
So
think
don't
that's
buy
smart.
it. Don't buy it unless you can buy two of it.
Yeah. Do you see any? I think another thing that I can't find much information on that people might be overlooking is, like you talked about, there's going to be some legal ramifications with this. How are we going to navigate the political system to allow autonomous vehicles with nobody in it to take, people around in what would essentially be a taxi service? So how do you kind of see that playing out with them? It might be kind of like a state by state situation, like we see with other controversial type things. And,
Mm-hmm.
obviously they're going to have to show safety records and all of that kind of stuff. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I think that's a barrier that they don't talk about too much.
Yeah, so I think like the typical narrative, if you were to think like, oh man, that sounds scary just letting a robot drive me around, right? But statistically speaking, if you look at the numbers and what Tesla has put up for the last years and years, statistically speaking, driving in autonomous vehicles is the safest form of transportation by vehicle. Overall, there's mandates all around the world starting to go into effect, like China in a decade from now, and I think California just had a recent mandate for only electric vehicles, right? And so they're going to stop producing ICE vehicles in the next decade. And that's a controversial topic too, because I'm not a big car guy, but I know a lot of people love cars. They love their ICE vehicles. They love being able to like work on the engines and all those aspects. And I know a lot of car makers are concerned with electric vehicles because they don't have that same ability essentially to work on the vehicle like the ICE vehicles. It's kind of like a different thing. I'm not a car guy, so I can't go elaborate further, but that is going to be a hurdle. I think a lot of people aren't going to want electric vehicles, right? But as time goes forward and it moves on, people are going to just overall see that it's just more beneficial to be using electric vehicles than it is for ICE vehicles. One of the huge things that they recently did and started doing is they're changing all the NASCAR race cars into electric vehicles, and so
Really?
yeah, I actually heard this a long time ago, so it might actually have already happened. I mean, I can double check it, maybe double check it after this interview, but I heard this on the news, like that they are focusing on changing NASCAR and race cars into electric, so that it's basically going to show like the people that I just talked about, the ICE vehicle lovers, that hey man, like electric vehicles are way faster than ICE
Yeah.
vehicles. And I mean, look at Tesla's vehicle,
The
for
plaid.
example. Yeah, it goes 0 to 60. It's as fast as a Bugatti, right? And that's a Bugatti is a what, multiple $1 million car. I don't even know, but that's insane. So electric vehicles, the future is getting ready for it. And like I was saying of China earlier, they have the soonest mandate coming into effect. And they also have, I think, a lot more electric vehicle companies that are more legit, that can maybe, more legit than say like Nikola,
Yeah. Well, that doesn't
like
take much.
yeah, like they got Neo. I like Neo as
Yeah.
probably one of the only other electric vehicle companies I would be maybe interested in investing in. Actually, I do have $100 in them, but yeah, that's the only one. But I did trade Nikola. I made $800 off a trade on Nikola, homie. That was pretty fun. That was a big group trade we did, dude, and it was fun.
Got your money and got out. That's what matters.
Yeah,
I'm
got out of that
picturing
one.
I'm picturing like the Daytona 500 where the cars are racing around and it's like dead silent because
Yeah, man, that would be crazy, huh? I didn't think about that. That would
that's
be
like
wild.
a yeah that's like what they're doing right now with football because nobody's at the games. Maybe they'll just like input engine noise into the stadium. That way, it's still ridiculously loud.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I've never been to a NASCAR. Yeah, I bet it's super loud.
I
That would
haven't
probably
either,
change.
but
That would probably change everything for the people there.
yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know if the typical NASCAR crowd would be into it, but I think everything has to start, somewhere, and then there's going to be haters,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's the way it works.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of people are gonna be against the idea, but it's just like it's kind of like, I don't even know what type of analogy to use really, but it's just like when you see something that's better and you're not using it, eventually you'll see the benefits of using it.
Yeah, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, we'll see what happens. I think the future is bright. Like we said, I think we're in for some volatile times, maybe the next 6 months to a year with Tesla. Um,
Hmm.
and we'll kind of
I'm
see how
hoping it
each.
goes down.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping the same way, but we'll see what happens. It's never boring with Tesla. Let's put it that way. So.